Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang, and co-host, Overseer Franklin Williamson. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, and good evening. Bishop Dr. Lang here saying welcome to one and all as we have another episode of the Premier's Turning Point. We are just so happy to be with you today. We are excited that we have a lot of general topics to cover today. Last week, as you know, we covered the Juneteenth and kind of get everybody up to date. We thank our guest last week who will kind of bring us up to date. So, of course, if anybody have any comments, any ideas, anything you'd like to share, feel free to do so in the comments section, and we'll definitely engage you as well. We're going to start off with our first segment, which is going to be an update on the coronavirus status and where we are with everything, which then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back with some general discussion still related to this week to the coronavirus. But let's start off by having our great co-host, the overseer, Franklin Williamson, just putting his 2 cents. I know he's having a busy week, but he'll tell us about that a little bit later on as well. So God bless you, sir. How are you doing?
God bless you, Bishop. Doing quite well. Overseer Franklin Williamson here at the Gospel Tabernacle Church, and we're so glad that we are able to do this on a weekly basis, bring you live information. The Bible reminds us that my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. And we make it our point of duty to bring to you live and accurate information. So take a moment now, share and like, invite someone. We are here to field your questions, and we will continue. As you know, July 1st, New York City, swing the gates wide open. And as a result, all the extracurricular activities are open. But as you know, we as a church, we are watching the virus carefully. I just got a text just yesterday, a household in Jamaica, the entire family is tested positive for this COVID-19. And then I know for a fact that the Bronx, where my church is only 38% vaccination. Also, New York State is 70%, but that's just off the first shot. So we have not even got to 70% where herd immunity. So be careful as we continue with our program this afternoon. God bless you. Back to you, Bishop.
Yes, and you brought up some very good points. As we do really much an update on the coronavirus, we realize that the virus is still causing havoc in some places. In other areas, we're getting a control of it because of the amount of people that are immunized. But in general, we're still not out of the woods because, first of all, as Overseer said, we in certain areas only about 70% has gotten their first shot. I think it's around under 50 to 60% who has gotten both. In New Jersey, same thing. There's not a herd immunity level as yet. And we are also realizing that, there's still a lot of people who are holding out who do not want to be vaccinated. The update is, the Delta variant, which was the dominant variant in India, is now becoming a fast rising in the U.S. And we're seeing on the order of 10 to 20% of the cases are related to Delta variant. The good news is that if you're vaccinated, then you're protected even from the Delta variant. So the moral of the story is, as many people that are vaccinated would be better for the overall population. Now, I've been listening to a lot of bit of the news just to kind of keep up to base so I could share with everybody. And we find that especially in the South of the U.S., for the most part, even the first shot is in most areas is only up to about 40% that have gotten even one shot. And it may be even less that have both. They're seeing a lot of the hospitalizations and the deaths that we're seeing that is now corona-related. Almost 100% of those are in people who are not vaccinated. All right, so listen carefully. So we're seeing a low vaccination rate in certain areas. And in those same areas, we're seeing a rise in the number of people who are coming up positive. We're seeing a rise in hospitalizations, and we are even some areas even are seeing a rise in the death count in those areas. And when they investigate them, at least 90 to 100% of those people have not been vaccinated. Because of the same reason, and we know not all the children are vaccinated, we're also seeing a rise in the amount of children that are infected. So the moral of that, Overseer, and you can talk about it a little bit, is because of the amount that are not vaccinated, in those groups, we're seeing an escalation in the counts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that number is higher. And we have done so much, Bishop, to educate our population. I'm actually in the process of trying to get my church as a vaccination site.
Mm-hmm.
Very
good.
This way, we, because they trust their pastors, they trust the community leaders. And I'm feeling if we do this and have it right there at the sanctuary, we can at least get another population that is normally ready to say no. So it's important. This second wave, definitely they're saying it's really for those who have not been vaccinated. And I think we have seen the proof in the pudding, if you want to use that term, right? So many people who have been vaccinated can demonstrate to you that, yes, they have felt some side effects. And I don't really call that side effects. I call that's a normal effect of the vaccine, right? Reaction to the vaccine and creating those antibodies, right? So there's tightness of the site where you got the injection, muscle. Sometimes you may have a fever, right? But after 3 days, you're back to normal. So I encourage everyone. And Bishop, I am still seeing churches not wearing the mask, and I'm just turning to see that continue. We're not out the woods. We're not out the woods.
Yeah. In the second segment, we're gonna focus a little bit on, the still now probably best practice and the things that we should be doing as we ease out and getting more people vaccinated. But I think one thing we wanted to stress in this roundup on the first section is that there is still a lot of virus out there. I looked at some of the statistics, and there are some states that have seen now, hospitalization and death rate almost back up to what it was in April. There's some states, that are having some, more difficult times, and because of the lack of the volume of people that are vaccinated. And so we do want to stress, remember now, and I don't want to anybody get me wrong, we're not mandating vaccines of what we're recommending, that people get vaccinated. I know I had some discussion with certain people that, they think as if we're mandating this. No, we're not. And then said, in essence, you're mandated because some jobs are saying, well, you can't work if you don't have the vaccine, but that's the place of employment's prerogative to protect themselves or protect people. Because trust me, one thing people don't understand, if a company now just say, all right, no, everybody can come to work no matter what, then they have an outbreak. Do you realize that, I know there's a lot of things trying to say people can't be sued, but do you realize that the company could be sued for allowing people that are potentially infective to come to work? So companies are trying to kind of protect themselves and when in a global sense, and then in essence trying to protect people. So people have to understand where they're coming from that, and it's very important that we realize that it's now, for example, I tell people I wear the mask still, and it's not so much more for my protection right now because I'm immunized, but it's for protection of anybody who comes in contact with me who may have the virus, and then I may spread it to somebody else, which is still a potential. So it's really important that we understand that, we can get out from under this. I mean, and it was seen, as you're saying, and we'll talk a little bit more, everything is opening up. And people are I think just because it's open, they're just, hey, well, I can go now. Everything is opened up. I can go out. Still not taking into consideration. But look at the statistics in your area. Understand the area where you live, where you work. What are the percentages of people that are vaccinated? What are they going on in the numbers? Are they seeing a rise? As you were saying, certain parts of a certain different zip codes, they have it in New York down to the zip code as to
Yeah.
tell you, how many people are immunized or not. And so you can, kind of gauge your activity and, your mask or no mask based on the area that you're in. And this is important because every one of us have to take responsibility for ourselves. And I know you can speak about the different zip codes around you that, I know it's a different rank, the rate is different and all of that stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And I think what we may do next time, Bishop, get opportunity to share my screen and actually show the folks how you can check, right?
Yeah.
How you can educate yourself.
Yes.
What are the levels of penetration of vaccination within your zip code? And it's good to know because, and then think about it. Even the zip codes, these aren't boundaries. These are imaginary lines. And
Yep.
no one works in the same zip code or do everything in the same zip code. So, those are imaginary lines, but it just gives you an idea. Here's where you're resting your head. Here's where you sleep. Here's where you do your worship. And should I then not wear my mask? So advocate for that.
Yeah. And obviously, when in just summation of, where we are, when I look at even New York and New Jersey, since that where we are, the rates actually have gone up, not by a lot, but, they were going down to 0.5. I know New York was all the way down to 0.5. The last time I looked, it was back up to about 1.5. New Jersey had that come all the way down to about 1, is now still back up to 2 to 3. So what we're saying is you need to, as a individual, need to know what is going on, number one. What is going on in your area, the places that you're frequenting, and, what is the state of affairs for the country, for the world, for that matter. In terms of when you're looking at the world, since we're doing an update, the coronavirus, there's certain places that are going back to full mask. I think it was Australia who have now, reverted back to having a mask mandate because they're seeing such an uptick amongst, and again, it's amongst the people who are not immunized. We are lucky in the U.S. as much as we're not, 70% everywhere. We're probably a lot more immunized than most of the other countries. I think away from Israel. I think Israel is probably the only one that probably had a much higher. And even in Israel, where it is much higher, they did see even an uptick again in the numbers. So we need to realize this is what going, especially the world is opening up. People are traveling various other places now. Yes, they may make you have to be negative. I know, for example, Jamaica, I know a lot of those people, and they don't even care if you're immunized. You have to have a negative test to go. Right. So immunization alone doesn't, yes, we're talking a lot of immunization this year. In Jamaica, I know the rates are lower, so they're just making sure anybody coming in is negative. And then they still have restrictions, so here in the US, we may be opening up, but the rest of the country, the world is not necessarily opening up like that. I mean, they're opening up, tentatively and with restrictions in place. So you also need to know what are the rules wherever you may be traveling to. All right. Those of us who may then try to travel, because the coronavirus, as much as we are getting a handle, it is not under wraps. It is not, basically put aside and say, okay, now it's over and we can do anything we want. That's not the case. We're still having to be careful and doing all the various things that we need to do. So we're going to go ahead.
They are going to take a look at July 4th numbers, right? Which will come out 2 weeks after July 4th, right? So you're talking about the 28th, somewhere there, close to the end of July, to see if there was a significant uptick, right? I mean, but I'm hoping that the outdoor barbecues and most of the activities are outdoors. So
I hope
it should be a flatten off, shouldn't be of a great impact. Maybe a plus there, right?
Yeah. But, part of it too is with all the people traveling, they're thinking the travel numbers are going to be up to even pre-pandemic, or this year. That's the prediction is that we're going to have even more people than travel pre-pandemic travel this 4th of July weekend. So it depends on also how Were they careful, distancing, and all of that? So we will see. We will see
Yeah.
what the results of that. And then, again, based on the amount of people who are immunized, how many cases we have, are they amongst people who are not immunized? I think it will take, you're right, about a couple of weeks to get that data back to better look at where we are. But I think in general, I think especially those states that the immunizations are really low, I'm a little bit concerned, and I'm praying specifically for those states, in the South, that we find that the rates are just so low. We know some of the reasoning, some of the thinking, but I think, as the people of God, what can we do? What else can we do? We can, preach, we can teach, we can pray, that the Lord would open up people's understanding and hearts and mind so that they understand, the really major impact that this can still have. Because trust me, as you think people are upset now, if we have to go back to saying, telling everybody to go back in the mask and close things down, you're going to see some tempers boiling. They're going to be protesting the street. I mean, they did it before, but it's going to be even worse. Can you imagine us telling people to shut back down? I mean, and that's not what any of us wants,
Especially when our restaurants were get such a high hit as far as revenue stream.
Yes.
And in New York City, the mayor and the governor reopened the city, and what they did, they didn't keep the outdoor restaurants.
Yes.
They kept that, but what they didn't keep was liquor. Now you could take out liquor.
Yeah. No.
Under the emergency order, you could take liquor to go. So they have suspended that. So they made a couple of lawsuits saying, why can't we make that a law that we can now still have liquor to go, because that was a major part of their business and they saw it as a new market. So there's so many dynamics, so many wheels turning that, keep abreast of it and do your diligence. Do your diligence. I still sanitizer in my car. Every time I go out, I come back in and sanitize. I still wear my mask. I'm going out in the mall. I'm going anywhere outside the house, and it's not as tense as it was a few months ago, but I still try to maintain that level of safety and security.
Yep. All right. So we're going to just talk about upcoming events for a few minutes. And then after that, we will come back with a bit more general discussion. What I want to talk a little bit more about in the second half is, as we open up, specifically for the churches, what things people may be facing, what ideas people may have. And overseer, we're thinking that, sometimes we don't think what we do have an impact, but I've gotten so much feedback from, pastors all over the world that's saying, they're thankful for what we've done because it has helped them, to really know how to function and so I think let's keep doing what we're doing prayerfully, that the Lord will, guide. And you know what? Sometimes, when you're in the thick of things, you don't seem like you're making an impact. But listen, when the Lord give you a mandate, you just have to follow it and carry on. All right, so we're going to start off with you, sir. Yeah, keep us up to date with what's going on around your ministry, around New York, around the world.
All right, well, let's start with the ministry. We are now in the month of July and open up. And July is the month where we, focus on our youths for the month of July and August. So starting July 11th, that's Sunday, we have a strategy of reopening fully and make the community aware of the church. So we're having Grads Day. We're celebrating all those who graduated in 2020 and 2021. We're doing this outdoor. There's a tarpaulin right in front of the church. And we are inviting everyone who graduated. You're going to come wearing your cap and gown, bring your certificates, and the church will also endow upon you our awards. We're also going to be giving away some scholarships, right, for those who have graduated from high school and going into college, first time going into college, not your second degree, not your third degree, your first time degree. When Mother Williamson, my mom, passed, she started a scholarship fund, so we're going to award some $500 scholarships paid directly to your school of choice that you have been accepted. Also, after Sunday, July 11th, we will go into our Youth Holy Pentecost. Youth Holy Pentecost, and that begins on the Wednesday, July, that same week, July 14th. And we go from July 14th to July 18th. And we will be doing some hybrid there. Certain parts of it will be fully on Zoom virtually, so we can take and capitalize the opportunity of reaching the youths across the globe. So we also have one of our main guest speakers coming out of Indiana, Ohio. Well known. We normally go to camp there in Zanesville, Ohio, but because of the pandemic, camp has been modified, but we are bringing her to us in the person of Minister Latoya Porter, and she'll be ministering for us along with her son. He's a great speaker, so look forward to that under the banner, the Holy Spirit, the anointing being poured out. And then how are we going to wrap it up? We are looking to take some time out to acknowledge our first responders, They have worked so hard during this pandemic, and we think the church wants to really be at the forefront in saying thank you. I know our mayor is doing a ticker tape parade, and we just want to celebrate that, and for all those who have worked hard. So July is a busy month for youths. There's so many other things we have in plan, but these are the two main events. Our Grads Day on the 11th and July 14th through the 18th, we will be having our Youth Holy Pentecost. Regarding what's going on around the world in our organization, we are still in our convocation, our 49th year of convocation, and that started on Monday. We're wrapping up on Sunday. So if you like, you can connect with us via Zoom. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, Gospel Tabernacle Church. And tonight our speaker is Dr. Barrington Hibbert, coming out of CJC in Passaic, New Jersey. So that's what's happening in Gospel Tabernacle and around the Gospel Tabernacle Ministries. Thank you. Back to you, Bishop.
Oh, well, those are all exciting, and I think we can't talk too much about the Holy Ghost, because I think that's one of the things that is missing in a lot of church circles. But yes. I think we have to get back to the basics and let people realize that we need to be led by the Holy Ghost, and it's such an awesome thing for the youth. Premier, we are really gearing up for a couple of things. In July, we have our Vacation Bible School coming up July, I think 12th to 16th. Though you can still register by going to pflmi.org, and under, I think, events, you will see where you can register. We're doing an Oasis, VBS that is probably sanctioned by the World Pentecostal Organization. So we want everybody to really get your children out. It's nightly at 6 p.m., I think, every night. So we want everybody that want to join in. If you have your children want to join in, just register. We are also having in next month in August, but we're trying to put out the word now. August 13th, we're having our dedication for a new space, as we're going to be sending out invitations. We want all the churches who want to join in. You may not be able to bring your whole congregation, but you can probably bring 5 to 10 people or so. We still probably be able to accommodate quite a few people. And then we're going to also, do it on the media as well, so people can. So we're going to be live streaming as well. So that is August 13th. The Saturday, the 14th, we're going to have a social, and then on the Sunday, we're going to have the anniversary service, which is going to be at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So again, that all of our friends and loved ones can join in with us. So those are probably the main things that are on our agenda, and we know that throughout this time is a big time where people have various things. So what we're going to do, we're probably going to reach out to all the people that we associate with both here in New York and get their calendars, and we can share their events as well when we do this segment. All right, so everybody look forward to that. Everybody get ready. We also have one thing else that I forgot. We have a cultural day. We're doing a cultural day in the park, and that's going to be on, I think, July 24th. If I get my date right, I think that's the date. And we're actually going to highlighting about five nations where we're going to, bring up their culture, their music, their food, and we're going to have a great time in the park. It's going to be at RV Inman Park in Somerset, New Jersey. We will put out more information on that. So everybody, summer is an exciting time. I know a lot of people are on vacation, people are taking breaks, but if you're around town, just joining at any of these events, and so that we can, just expand the kingdom. This is about kingdom building, and we want to share all the events that everybody is participating in. So that's kind of it for that segment, and we're gonna go back into a little bit further discussion about really the opening up of everything, what the churches are doing, what they should be doing, and then and one of the thing is, I think before it, September will be here, and then the schools are gonna be open. I know in New Jersey, and I think Overseer will tell us about New York in a minute. They're saying that all the schools are gonna be opened up full force, and so it's going to be important. I know if the cases start going back up at a tremendous rate, then they have to reconsider that. But as of right now, that is the plan. So you've got to plan for your children to be going out and make all of those arrangements. So, Overseer, what is the plan for schools come September?
All right. Yes. Our mayor made it emphatically clear that there'll be no virtual learning in September. So what they're doing right now, they're testing that with summer school. They're making sure that there's sufficient teaching staff. As you know, there's been a shortage of teachers due to many of our teachers who contracted the virus. Some have comorbidities, and some are still not comfortable returning to the classroom teaching in person and have opted for retirement. So there is a gap there. So I'm hoping that the mayor's plan can be realized because the virtual classes does help with the short staff, because you could you don't have a limit, right? In a classroom, let's say your cap is 30 or your cap is 12 if you're special needs. You can maximize that with one teacher and go beyond that limit. So virtualness, we're looking to suspend that and get everybody back in schools. What they're also doing in schools before school closed back in the 25th of June is the vaccination was brought into the schools where students were able to get vaccinated before they went away on summer break. So to maximize the number of students being vaccinated, what they are planning on doing come September is to have nurse stations or vaxxers on campus in the schools to have students vaccinated with the consent of parents. And it varies depending on if it's the pre-K versus kindergarten versus elementary versus middle and high. But just check the school.nyc.gov website for New York City Public Schools, and you will see the update. Now is the best time to check it, because then you want to prepare your family and your students and your children for what to expect when they return to school. There are still many students who have not gone back. Some have said that they felt that they learned more being virtual. So the studies and the numbers will be coming out. As you know, the New York State exam was conducted this year, and it was only session 1, which means only multiple choice was given to the students. And that's good or bad. Multiple choice is binary. We always look to the writing piece to really help students in gaining additional points on their exams. So once that data is tabulated, we will know the impact. I can't say the true impact, but we'll have some kind of metric to see how our student fared on the exam. And then there'll be a diagnostic test when they get back to in-person, right? Because students were home. They could have just hopped over to another browser and cut and paste and Google the answer and then answer the test. So There's a diagnostic that will be done to understand if there is indeed a COVID slide in education, or did we close the gap, or did we have some gains? So stay afloat, stay abreast of what's happening in New York City.
Yes, and I think New Jersey is the same. They're going to be opening up as of right now. We know that vaccinations are now possible down from age 12. I think by September they should have the studies done, and I think they're probably going to see them offering vaccination for the younger children. That's my prediction that's going to happen. So I think that will have a big effect on this reopening. I am a little bit worried though about you're right, some of the other states, not just New York, New Jersey. We're more on the progressive side when it comes to this, but some of the other states, especially in the South, because a lot of and those are the same states actually where this virtual learning wasn't the best, because not everybody had the access to that. So they have two things. Here they are. Their virtual is not even the best for them even to go virtual. And then with this reopening, and if they're not vaccinating, or there's outbreaks, it's gonna cause. So I think as a country, we're not out of the woods yet. I think there's a lot of things that have to fall in place, have to fall in line for us to, really. But schooling is going to be one of them. It'll be very important to see, with all the research, what is our conclusion? You're right. Did we have a COVID slide where people drop off, or did some of the kids do a lot better? Because I know for some of the children, and I have interviewed a bunch that they thought they did much better, and even some of the parents have vouched for me that I think my kid's doing better with this virtual, because some of it is not that stress of getting out of bed and being so you have a little bit more time, and so it's really very interesting. I mean, and this is probably a good. For anybody who's doing their PhD in education, this is a great topic, right? If they haven't finished up this is a good thesis topic. I think we'll probably see a lot of them, but this is something that's going to be important, because it's also an important topic that we know how our children fared and how we expect them to move along. Because one thing we know with the technology and stuff, the world is trotting along, and we don't want our children to be left behind, and anything like that. All right, so let's transition a little bit then. I know the schools, we talk about those reopening. Now, sure. In terms of the churches, where do you see the status of affair in your area, such like? Mm-hmm.
All right, it's I kind of chuckle because I heard a commercial where they said, "Pastor, get off Zoom and get back into the church." Yes. So it looks like you also have where pastors have become very comfortable on Zoom and not willing, ready to go back and face the congregation in person. So that's one area to look at and discuss. Then you look at the members, right? So the church doors are open, and I think you should have a survey. All right, take the time to survey your congregation and get a feel on the pulse of your congregation. Every church is unique, right? You may have someone waiting with a bated breath to come right in, rush the doors open, and you may have some who are not yet ready. It all depends on, one, how well did your church handle this COVID lockdown? Two, what was the impact of the COVID within your immediate assembly? Did you lose a large number of members to COVID? And three, is the pastor really doing his or her best to inform and have kept the church in communication, whether via Zoom, whether via free conference call, whether by Google Meets, whatever platform, was the church in constant, current communication? And so many members have veered off and have gone to other churches, or have now get connected to another virtual platform or virtual ministry, and are not looking to return. So I would encourage pastors, go back through your membership list, go through your register, and do a survey, whether you do it electronically or whether you go back and get a phone bank and call. I hope that that will not be the first call or the first time they're hearing from you as a pastor. But if that's the case, be ready for an apology. Be ready for the wrath of your members. All right. But swallow the pride and let them know, that even you as a pastor, you are going through your personal struggles with COVID, because pastors, we're human. And many times we don't be transparent and share that with our congregation, that maybe you had the COVID, or maybe your spouse, or maybe your family, and you were the point person and you had to attend care. Just like every time you fly the plane, they said if this cabin would lose oxygen, the first thing you'll do if the oxygen mask is deployed, put it on yourself first. So maybe you were in a survival mode and you quickly moved to try to get your family together, and the church felt like you have neglected them. Let them aware, apologize. The sheep is very forgiving, and roll out your strategy. What we're doing here, one, we started with open air services, Bishop. I like what you have done during the pandemic. So now that the weather is warm, our night services are open air services. So this way, the community will be aware that we're open. So our night services, no more than 2 hours, start at 6 when the sun is out, and we finish by 8. And we have folks in the perimeter who are handing out tracts, who are handing out contact cards, so you can invite them into the ministry. Then from that, we are also trying to create events that are community centric, right? If you got access, July 4th, July 5th is a good time. We are going to the park. We ordered some T-shirts, and we're just going to get on the barbecue grill, and we're just going to feed one another and have a good time. And while you're doing that, it's an opportunity to spread the gospel. All right? So open like that, softly, and get to know the community. Get to know the community. Also, gather some masks. Do a mask distribution. Bottle of water with mask, all right? And just open up. You may not have pantry, but you can give out mask and bottle of water. And if the young people want to do the lemonade stand, they just got to make sure they bottle it or they cap it, and you're not scooping it while you're outside. But just prepare it ahead of time, put it in an igloo with ice, and just ready, try to get back to some sense of normalcy, but still practice the safe protocols that are in place. So I think that will advise to Bishop.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I think, depending on, you need to know your community. First of all, you need to know your parishioners, as you're saying, know what it is that they want. We still have, we've been actually back in the building since October, and we've been doing the hybrid. So, and I think one of the things you said earlier, which I want to speak to, is I think all ministries should really, this is a time to re-examine, look at yourself, see where you are. Okay, we were doing some things even pre-pandemic. Our conference call, prior line, that was pre-pandemic. That we're going to continue. We have actually, we have a WhatsApp group that we have done now since pandemic. We have a voicemail system where we can broadcast to everybody. So I think using all that is available is what you need to do. And even so, you're still going to not reach some people, but you do every can. If there's people we think that are not getting any of that, we do, you're right, personal phone calls. There's nothing wrong with that. Looking at if you haven't seen somebody, haven't heard from them. But I think this is time for the church to come together. Your ministry, starting with each ministry, looking at ourselves, seeing where we are, seeing what else we need to do to engage the people. And then, you're right, getting a pulse from them, what they think. We still have some people who are even fully vaccinated who still don't want to come in the building. But everybody's a little bit different. So we those people we reach out to personally, explain to them, give them all the stats. Because we are one of those who have, the Sunday past was the first Sunday I preached without a mask. That was it. And because we're vaccinated, most people are, we still had everybody else in a mask, and actually not preaching had the mask on. So I think,
Yes.
as we ease into it, I think, just look at your situation. If you have majority of your people who are not vaccinated, I would say you may want to still continue fully masked. I mean, if the majority are vaccinated, and we are, from taking the pulse of our people, we probably have a good more than 70% that are vaccinated. So that is actually very good. So we're still gonna be careful. We're still gonna ask people to mask if while they're in the building. Of course, when you're doing your outside events, you're right. That's why outside events are great because you can
Yeah.
distance and you don't really have to be masked, especially if you're vaccinated. And you're right. We have, this is the time to engage the community. We had we just had a function on the 26th where we had an open mic which in the park. Again, we're having the cultural day coming up, so you really have to get out there and get involved with what's going on. And I think this is a way to reopen is just to focus on reaching out, giving out information, almost like an information clearinghouse where people know if they have any questions. I mean, we have the luxury of I'm being a physician, so a lot of people call me anyway. But then there's those who from all over will just call, from a pastor standpoint, how do you suggest? So I think being open is really
Yes.
the thing now, being open. And the things that work great in the pandemic, you may want to go back to eventually, we're all probably going to be hybrid. There's certain of our things we're going to keep on our media,
Yes.
some of our Bible studies. I find that people are a little bit more able to attend because if you have to rush home, get dinner and get ready for 8 o'clock, but if you have to drive 15 or 20 minutes or even a half an hour, you're less likely to be there. So we're probably going to keep certain things, on our Google Meet, and of course maybe once in a while get together in a social fashion so people can be together. So each ministry have to look at themselves. That's what we're
Yep.
proposing. Get together with your boards and
Yep.
your decision makers. Look at where you are, what you've done, what you may not have done, and see
Right.
what is best, for your situation. Because I think the one point you make is that every ministry is unique,
Yes.
and everyone just don't think, because this work one place is going to work here. There's no cookie cutting business here. It's just letting the Lord guide you,
Absolutely.
understand your position, and then move
Yeah.
forward. All right,
Yeah.
overseer, any
Yeah.
last words? Go ahead.
Yeah. And knowing you have options, right? So that's one of the
Yes,
things we try to do is give you a wide spectrum of options. One of the things, Bishop, I started doing because I realized I had some members who have special needs, right? Hearing
yes,
impairment, all right,
yes,
and some also have challenges. So instead of teaching out of my home on Zoom, I
yeah,
think for last 2 Tuesdays I did it from church. And
yes,
those who have special needs, about 4 people came in the sanctuary.
yeah,
So
amen,
so
yeah,
the difference is it's still Zoom centric, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
now the sanctuary, they're hearing me live, because they need to read my lips, right?
yes,
And it was a breath of fresh air. I
yeah,
felt so nice. I mean, we have been doing Zoom since March, and it's the first
yeah,
time in Bible study in the sanctuary. So as you
yes,
said, we're going to use the component of Zoom because there are some folks we have reached who have never
yes,
reached them, right? And
yes,
some folks who are on the job and they can just take a few moments and just listen and still be fed with the word. So,
yeah,
so we want to encourage pastors. When you say
yeah,
returning should look like the way you exited, right?
exactly, exactly.
We have learned. And another area, Bishop, that we'd love to talk to is the electronic giving.
Yes,
Churches need to enable those functions, right? Enable those functions. Yes, you got the Zelle, you got
what's
PayPal, but what
Cash App, yeah,
Cash App, right? But then you
mhm,
want to think about churches, your reconciliation, right? Make sure
yes,
all the different platforms they come together, and you're able to do your annual financial reporting at the end of the
yes,
year. You know,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
think of something
That's a good
strategic.
That's a good point. And actually, be honest with you, most of them are conducive to that because we were actually doing, especially PayPal, we were doing that quite a bit even before pandemic. And it's easy. That one is easy. By the way, if you do, just for example, if you do QuickBooks and I'm sure other program, you can download that directly.
Yeah.
So depending on the programming you're using, and Cash App is a little bit more difficult, but it can happen. So
Yes.
whatever you're doing, you're right. Just make sure it lines up, and you get everything in order. And then the other thing is, as you mentioned, don't forget to, when you're giving a blessing or asking God to bless, remember the people who are giving, electronically. Don't forget them in your prayers,
Yes.
which is, some of the things. We just want to keep God in the whole thing and let the Lord have His way. Well, it was awesome. As usual. I enjoy these discussions, and we are open for any suggestions, any thoughts, anything people have. And as we go forward, as I said, our new format is we will do a coronavirus update, current events, announcements, and then we will wrap up with a interesting thing in the news. This week, we just continued on our corona discussion because there's so much about the opening up. But please join us, share with your friends, your family, and I really appreciate Overseer for all of his efforts. I know this is a busy week, but he still found the time. I am going to reach out to him right after this, and I'm going to try to catch some of the service tonight.
Yes.
Bishop Barrington Hibbert is one of my favorite people because he's really down to earth and is very educated. So he brings it all
Yeah.
together. So I
Absolutely.
will try to catch some of that for sure. So God bless everybody. Have a wonderful
Bless.
evening. God bless you. God bless you, Overseer. God bless
Turning
you.
Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first-time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.